Ladies and gentlemen, the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro have arrived. Perhaps you're new to these Pixel devices. Perhaps you're new to Android. In this video, I aim to make that transition just a little bit easier by going over a whole bunch of tips and tricks to try out on your brand new Pixel 8. We're going to start things off by customizing our brand new Pixel 8. And to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to select an empty space on your launcher, touch and hold until you get this pop-up appearing. From there, you can do a couple of things already, like changing to some of your more recent wallpapers, widgets, home settings. Let's start off in wallpaper and style. You should see now the home screen there in view. You can switch to the lock screen here. Don't worry, we're going to get to all of this. So the first thing you're going to want to do is select a wallpaper, and it's going to have a few on there already. If you click on more wallpapers, you're going to see so many wallpaper options. It's not even funny, but there's actually something really cool too, like AI wallpapers. Let's go to something like, wow, these are really, really crazy. Let's go to terrain, and we're going to generate our own wallpaper. So let's make a realistic, no, let's go with surreal. I like this. Surreal forest in shades of blue. Why not? What's going to happen is it's going to generate a wallpaper for you based on those parameters. And there we go. This is one of them. And you can actually swipe through and see some different ones. These are kind of interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the check mark, and that will now be our wallpaper. You can see what it's going to look like on the lock screen and on the home screen. Let's go ahead and set it. Home and lock screens, and now it'll bounce you back here and it will show you these colors, okay? You can pick these colors and it's going to try to give you a selection of colors that it thinks are similar to what it is seeing in this wallpaper. And you can see as I'm changing these, different aspects of the UI are changing. If I pick this here and I pull down the notifications, you'll see that those colors have changed. If I pick this one and pull it down, they have changed again. Going further, you can actually theme your icons. Any icon that supports theming, when you do that, if it will load, there we go, will actually change their appearance. Maybe you can see there that Chrome has changed. My problem with that is most of my icons aren't going to change. I leave that turned off. You can also change the app grid. So how many icons by icons can you be using on your desktop at any given time. If you go over to lock screen, you have different clocks that you can have set on your lock screen. Let's just go back to the one that I had. And you can also change the size. You can change to a smaller version or the dynamic version, as well as the color that it's using. You can go with the Material U theming, so it's going to pick the color for you, or pick your own color manually. You can also alter the shortcuts that are down there at the bottom. So the left shortcut, right shortcut, you can make them be different things. And you can see what your different options are there. Personally, I don't use these shortcuts, so I'm just going to turn them off completely. If we go to more lock screen options, though, there are some more things to do here. How about now playing? This is one you absolutely need to turn on. What this is going to do is anytime there's music playing around you, it's going to hear that music, and it's going to appear on your lock screen. It's going to tell you what that song is that's playing in the grocery store. You don't have to guess or Google or Shazam. It's just going to be right there. You can actually add a search button to it as well to manually trigger it if it's not triggering it quickly enough for you. You can also turn on the always on display. If you turn that on, let me hold up my phone here. What you're going to get is that. See, I guess it's showing on the recording too. You see how the screen is always on. And if I then tap it, it's going to wake up into the lock screen. That's going to use a little bit more battery, but it might be useful too. You can also turn off that tap to check phone and lift to check phone. I do not like lift to check phone. I will turn that off. Let's go back to our home screen here now, and let's take a look at the widgets because there are a lot. This is how you're going to place them. Let's say you want to have a calendar widget. You're going to select it, long press, and you can then just drop it somewhere on your home screen, and that's going to be your widget. You can also resize it at that point or long press and move it around, drag it up there and delete it. Some of my favorite ones are like this one, the battery widget, which actually will show you different things that are attached to your phone. On my Pixel Fold, you'll be able to see that I have my watch as well as my phone's battery. If I open up my earbuds and connect them, it's going to show that too. Really, really useful widget. If you swipe up from the bottom and hold, you'll get to this screen. This shows your recently opened applications, and there's actually a few things you can do from this screen. We'll hover over threads here and you'll see one of them. You can see there's the option to grab that image right from recents. How about hit select, and let's go further. We can now grab text from that image as well. Copy, paste, share, super useful. Let's also click on the icon and you can go into split screen and then simply select another icon. We'll just use wallpaper and style. Nope, can't do that. Developer options, sure. And now we're split screen. Not as useful on a phone as on a tablet, but that is how you get into that. You may have also saw the option to take a screenshot from this as well, and you can jump straight in and edit that screenshot. You can draw on top of it, highlight it. Super useful option in the recents menu as well that a lot of people don't seem to know about. Let's jump into settings and then display. There are a few options in here. Maybe you want to change your screen timeout. Maybe you're weird like me and you want it to never time out. I set mine to 30 minutes, but you can also have it set so as long as you're looking at your phone, the camera sees your eyes looking, that screen will stay on. That might give you the best of both worlds. If we scroll down a bit further, you can change your navigation mode. Do you want 3-button navigation like you see down below now? Or do you want the gestures? You can take your pick there, and both of these can be altered a little bit. Swipe up to invoke the digital assistant. What that does is allow you to swipe from a corner, as you just maybe could simulate seeing, and trigger the assistant. I do leave that turned off. As for the 3-button navigation, hold home for assistant is the only option there. Scrolling back down, how about colors? Maybe you want your colors to be more natural. I tend to prefer adaptive. You're not going to see a difference in this recording, but in real life, adaptive is more saturated than natural. We also have screen resolution. Do you want to see the full crispness of your display, or do you want to have it on high resolution, which is going to save a little bit of battery life? You can take your pick on that on this screen. Last but not least here, smooth display. You can also save some more battery by disabling that high refresh rate, toggling that box. Let's jump into the camera because there are quite a few things here as well. You can see right here, this is how you zoom in. Now, most of this is really, really basic, but I've actually run into people who didn't understand you could do more with this. So ultra wide, 1x, 2x, and then 5x. But let's say you want to go past 5x zoom. If you press and hold, you can scroll this all the way up to 30x. Of course, it's going to be really hard for this to focus on anything at 30x, but that is how you go and zoom past just using what is shortcutted here on the screen itself. If we swipe up from the bottom, you'll jump into some further settings. Night sight, you should leave that on auto. Don't use your flash, just use night sight. On top shot, when it is available, which it's not going to be at this moment, now you'll see it switch back to auto. What this is going to do is basically record a short video whenever you take a photo, and it's going to allow you to pull frames directly from that video and save them as photos, potentially very, very useful. Macro focus can also be set to auto. You'll be able to see this here as let's use my mouse as an example. If I get very close to the mouse, actually I think macro is already on. There we go. So if I get close to the mouse, you see there, it just switched. And now macro mode is on and I can get very, very close and stay in good focus. I tend to leave that on automatic. Sometimes it'll switch when I don't want it to. If that happens to you, you can disable it from there. If we jump into more settings, I do like to use the golden ratio. This is basically going to give you these sort of lines to help you frame your shots. There's other options you can use there as well. Frequent faces is going to try to look for familiar faces and prioritize them to make them look better in your photos. I think that's a really cool option as well. Under advanced, rich color in photos should be on by default, but make sure that stays on because it's going to be using display P3 instead of sRGB, and the result should be better looking photos than you're going to be taking otherwise. Audio zoom is another interesting one for video. So basically as you zoom in, it's going to try to zoom the audio in. Be aware of that because if you're like me and maybe you're filming something for tech stuff like I'm doing and I zoom in, it's going to make my voice sound super weird because it's like trying to not listen to me, but listen to what's in front of me. I leave that turned off for that reason. Lots of different options down here for the camera, action pan, long exposure, portrait. All of these are pretty cool. If you click on the question mark up here, it's going to tell you what action pan does. So you're going to focus on a moving object. it stays in focus, the background gets blurred, and it has this really cool effect. You can see what this looks like there. Several different kind of examples of what that looks like. It actually does work really well. Long exposure is similar but different, so you're going to have something going by. You stay still this time, and the result is something like this. It's a long exposure, so it looks great on water or just sort of moving objects. If we switch over to camera, we have the option for pan, which basically makes the stability way, way, way better. It's a super stable mode they've put in its own spot. Blur is interesting. So what this is going to do is it's going to create, as you can probably see here, let me change between these two modes. We'll use this as an example. Watch my hair. It's probably going to get that wrong. If we go to blur, it's trying to, in real time, portrait blur behind me to give the effect, if you can see here, of basically portrait mode video, and it honestly looks pretty good. Of course, we also have slow motion, time lapse, not a whole lot more that's interesting or surprising there. Of course, we have slow motion and time lapse. Let's swipe up from the bottom and let's look at these settings too. 4K is probably where you want to be, although you can also change between that cinematic 24 FPS, 30 or 60. I tend to leave it on 30. It's just a good balance. HDR, 10-bit HDR, I should say. Leave that on. You'll see what these are going to look like. Much, much more saturated and HDR-ish videos. I like to leave that on. And you can also do that same macro focus inside videos. Again, I leave that on audio. Speech enhancement is also a pretty cool thing as well. They have some demos there that I'm not going to play, but it should basically make audio much easier to perceive when it comes to speech. Now, if you did jump up to the Pixel 8 Pro, you also gain the ability to have Pro mode controls. You can click this icon in the bottom right corner of your camera application, go in, change the shutter speed, the ISO, just like any other Pro mode, really dial things in. And you also have the ability to shoot in a full 50 megapixel mode. So no longer binning the sensor, actually outputting at a true high resolution 50 megapixels. Again, this is only available, for whatever reason, on the Pro model. After you've taken your photos, you can jump into Google Photos and do a ton of things. So let's click on the edit button down below and we'll start exploring these many very impressive options. So you have these filters first off, and these are pretty self-explanatory. I won't really spend much time on these. It's going to change the look of the photo. This won't look right through this recording, so just kind of take my word for it. You can also go down to adjust and sort of change things on your own. Again, this isn't really going to be demonstrated well in this video, but you can sort of tweak these things and get them to look the way that you want them to look. This is a very useful feature that I use all the time. Under tools, you have something like portrait blur, unblur, and magic eraser. So portrait blur can potentially be very useful if you want to add that portrait effect after the fact. What it's going to do is it's going to allow you to sort of click on an object in the photo. You can probably see this already in action, and it will allow you to punch up some blur behind them to sort of simulate that portrait effect. Unblur is pretty simple. If you took a photo of something that was moving slightly and it blurred a little bit, that is going to allow you to basically unblur it a little bit. It works okay. It's not mind-bogglingly good, but it does a pretty good job. Let's take a look at Magic Eraser now, because it is, I believe, quite a bit better than it used to be. It didn't find any suggestions in this photo because there's nothing in here that anybody would want to erase, but we're going to erase something anyways. Let's try to erase Rose. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically draw a circle around the object that you want to erase. It should pretty intelligently figure out what it is you're trying to circle, and it should grab it and then try to erase it. And as you can see here, it did a pretty darn unbelievable job. Now this is, I believe, an improved version of Magic Eraser that's not just smudging stuff anymore. It's actually trying to generate some stuff and fill in those pixels. But if we want to go a step further with the generation of pixels, how good is that? Is that not just unbelievable? If we want to go a step further with this, though, we can use the Magic Editor, which is what this icon is down here. Let's go ahead and click on that. Let's discard what we've already done, and it's going to load up the Magic Editor. Now we can just click on her, and it should use AI to just grab her perfectly. Now what we can do is either erase her, and this might look even better than Magic Eraser. I'm not exactly sure. I guess we're going to find out here in a second, because this is definitely using AI to fill in the stuff behind. I will tell you that that already looked better. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, that looks Wow, every time I do this, it blows my mind. I mean, it's literally putting leaves in there. Like, this is stuff you pull this phone out of your pocket and show your friend with an iPhone and it breaks their brain, right? Let's go back though. Let's bring Rose back. And now what we actually can do is long press on her and actually move her around, pinch to resume. Let's make her real big and we're gonna put her right there. And if we go with that option, it's gonna move her and then use that AI once again to fill in where she was a second ago. And you should have, again, a pretty decent looking output. There you go. She has been moved. You can see where she once was. Now she's there. I mean, if you show this to somebody, first off, why would you need to do that in this particular picture? But again, if you did that, no one's going to be able to tell anything. It looks unbelievably good. And there are different versions as well. There'll be slight variations on what it generated. So you can pick one that looks the best. One more Google Photos thing I actually forgot to cover, so I'm happy to go back in and do this while I was editing. Took a bunch of pictures of myself, and let me actually go back and let you kind of see exactly what we're looking at here. Just a burst of a bunch of pictures of myself intentionally messing up the shots, looking away, blinking, making faces. Okay, great. Click on the edit button. Imagine you're taking a picture of a group of people, okay? And you're trying to get them all looking forward and smiling and all that stuff at the same time. That type of thing is happening. You can now jump into Tools and click on Best Take. And it's going to look at that burst of photos and it's going to try to find different faces that were made by these people. And it should give me the option to change the face in this photo. And you should be able to do this with groups of people. It should find faces for all the different people in those bursts and allow you to select between them. And there you go. You can see exactly that. So it is allowing me to change what face is in this photo. Notice how just the face is moving. The hair's getting a little weird over here, but that's not super surprising. But it is literally changing just the face. How cool is that? Under System, if we go down to Gestures, there are several things in here. Quick tap to start actions. You can actually enable this and set this to different things here, opening an app or different actions, and you'll basically double tap on the back of the phone to trigger this. I don't use this, but I know some people that do, and they find it very useful to shortcut like the flashlight and things like that. I do like the flip to option, which basically allows you to flip your phone over and put it into do not disturb. I use that all the time. And one-handed mode is also potentially very useful. This is a gigantic phone, so having the ability to swipe down on the bottom and have it pull down to go into this one-handed mode is going to be very useful for some people that don't have enormous hands. You can also set this to have a little floating icon, as you can see. So if you don't want to have to do the swipe, you can just click that and it's going to pull down. That might be quicker for you. You can also have it set to show your notifications instead of actually doing a true one-handed mode. Let's jump into battery. We have a few good options here. So battery percentage, we want to have that up here. We don't want to have just an icon. That's useless. Let's have an actual icon. How about battery share? This is pretty cool. If you turn this on, flip over your phone and drop your Pixel Buds on it, it's actually going to charge them wirelessly. Last but not least, let's jump into the phone app, jump into the settings, and there are some good things here. How about hold for me? See when your assistant can wait and hold for you. So you're going to call someplace and it's going to say, an agent will be right with you. Well, guess what it's going to do? It's going to put them on hold and it's going to actually kind of answer some questions for you potentially. On-device technology, it auto-recognize when someone's ready to talk to you. It's going to give you an alert. They're going to literally hear your phone say, just a second, I'm going to go get them for you. You're able to answer the phone and take that phone call. You didn't have to sit there and actively wait. You can passively wait now. Direct my call. Same exact sort of thing, but slightly different. You're calling a business and it's like, press 7 to do this thing, whatever. It's going to just give you options on the screen and it's going to take care of that for you. Super useful. And then call screen. Gotta have call screen on. And I'm gonna go maximum protection from spam calls. But basically, you get a phone call, you hit screen call, and it's gonna talk to them for you. You're gonna see in text the conversation that's happening. You can actually select options to tell it what to tell the person. More often than not, it's spam. They hang up, you block them. Done. So guys, there you go. Long video, lots of tips. Hopefully it's very useful to you guys that just got your brand new Pixel 8. If it was, hit that like button before you go. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, man.